message. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tarotbull podcast, and I am starting the show today back to the normal routine. I tell you, we got all these complaints when Ashley starting it. No, I'm just kidding. Yes. All these people wrote in, they're like, "You're letting a woman start the show?" No,
she's the worst.
That did not happen. Anyway, but today's quote is going to be from the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, and this is from the section on marriage. I'm just going to read a small part, not the whole thing. But basically, it says, "Then Almatra spoke again and said, 'And what of marriage, master?'" So we're basically asking the master about what his thoughts on marriage, and here are some of his thoughts. He says, "Let the spaces in your togetherness and let the winds of the heavens dance between you." I'm sorry, let there be spaces in your togetherness and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give another your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. There's a little more too. I didn't read this whole thing naturally, but I'm just going to read this because it really puts it into context a little better. "Even as the strings of a lute, or I guess you could say a guitar, are alone, though they quiver with the same music, give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. For only the hand of life can contain your hearts, and stay together, yet not too near together. For the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow." Boom. Ashley, what do you think about that?
Okay, well, I have a lot of things that I think about it because, for our listeners that have followed on this journey with us, I don't shy away from talking a lot of times about my personal life. And as going through a divorce right now, this quote honestly exemplifies something I've really been kind of struggling with, because I feel as though my participation in the marriage as well as his was very similar to this quote. I wanted us to be two individual strong people that made that choice to come together. It wasn't a "you complete me" kind of bullshit. It was, I complete myself, you've completed yourself, and we're two wholes coming together. And that's something that I really loved. I loved the idea of being independent and not being so codependent on someone, not feeling like this is my other half. I hate that. It's like, why do I need another half? That means when I'm by myself, my whole life before this, I was 50%. No. And so, I like the idea of saying, like, I'm choosing to give you this bread, right? Or I'm choosing to share this with you. And I think there's something so beautiful about it. But I think people have these misconstrued notions of what a relationship or a marriage is. And I'm not saying you can't be best friends with that person, but I have a best friend and that person is not my other half. The only thing I can, I think that when you're thinking of a marriage, it should be these people that can stand alone, because that's attractive and empowering, I think, to another person, not someone who's like, "I need you in my life, where are you, come home." Like that felt very overwhelming to me, and that felt very stifling. And I honestly feel like it makes it seem like marriage is not something that you just fall into, like, well, we've been together for so long, so I guess we should get married. It's something when these two enlightened, whole human beings are like, no, this is going to rise us to the next level. Not like, oh, I feel like I should be doing this by age, fill in the blank, That's my thought. Which honestly, now I'm thinking about it, wasn't really an opinion either way. I'm just saying that's something that I struggle with, because people would always say to me when they found out that, I separated, they're like, "Well, you guys spent so much time apart. You guys didn't really do a lot of things together." And we didn't. We honestly didn't. And I didn't think there was a problem with that until, I think that I can look back and see there was maybe some issues there, obviously, but it was one of those, like, I was okay with that because I thought we were both just kind of living our life and choosing to spend the time that we did have together.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's fucking, I think you're definitely spot on. And I just want to add that these aren't judgments because everybody's different, right? And you got to start where you find yourself. So a lot of times people, I mean, I was raised kind of this way. I think feel like a lot of people in society are raised to feel like, oh, you got to find your other half. Like you said, you completely, it's like, and it's in all the movies and in the music and all that. And but then if you go to, like you said, self-help, or if you want to look to see what's really happy, or to make yourself, if you really want to be happy, people will tell you you have to be a complete person and all this stuff, and it goes contrary to what all the upbringing is. So I feel like it's something people have to consciously choose a lot of times to do, and then they have to do it and do the work to become that full person. And it's hard work. So, if people don't do it and they just go along with basically what society says and what they do and what they think is their correct way, they're just gonna feel negative, a negative response from that in a different way. So, like, if you chose to do the work head on and just went through it and did it and went through all that bullshit, the dark night of the soul, all the faced all your demons, all that, it's hard work, but at least you're head on and you get it done. And then the other way, it's like you said, it's unspoken. So you thought everything was fine, but his needs weren't getting met, and he didn't know how to vocalize it to you, where you were just like, oh, everything's great because it's quiet. Because in your mind, when you're quiet, everything's great, because when you have a problem, you'll say something about it, right?
Yep.
So that's just, and again, that just goes with the communication. So that's what this podcast is all about. We're trying to make communication better for people. And that's kind of why I chose this quote, because I see that in society a lot. A lot of people, in the, like I said, in the movies and the television stuff, you complete me. And what you were saying with the whole thing is like, oh, we've been together so long, we might as well just get married. Because some people view that as the right way, and then they see people that just met, and then like, oh, you just met this person, you're getting married now. And it's like, well, sometimes when people are a little older, they know what they want and they don't bullshit each other. And so they could just make that decision, I guess. So,
and you know what? I'm thinking that I was just talking to a friend this past weekend, and she was explaining the situation to me that she has with this person in her life, this male person in her life. And she's like, I just felt like as soon as I met him, I felt like there was such a connection. And I think sometimes when you tap into that, when you're older and you're a little bit more aware, you don't need to there doesn't have to be this timeline, right? It's not like we dated for this long and we're engaged for this long. It's like, there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, I felt this connection with this person and I just knew this was right.
yeah, if you really get to know yourself, and that other person's on that same journey of self-discovery, and you're not lying to yourself, and you guys both want the same thing, it's like, why waste time? You might as well just go for it. So anyway, having said, I'm getting married this weekend to my cat. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool. I'd get married to Giz if I could.
I was gonna be like, I'm getting married, and here's my wife, but my cat ran away. I was gonna like pick her up and hold her, but she ruined the joke.
I literally, I'm like, I told you as before we started recording, I've like, not that I've fallen back in love, because that makes it seem like I fell out of love with Gizzy, but we've been spending a lot of time together. And I'm just like, last night, she was probably like, leave me alone. She was trying to sleep. Like I kept like I was watching something on my computer and I kept looking at her and like poking her, being, I love you.
Did you put out a plate of spaghetti and like try to do the Lady in the Tramp thing with her?
I gotta tell you, the one time she's not normally very nice is when she's eating. If someone comes over to her, it's like, don't bother a dog while it's eating. She won't ever do anything to me. She's looking at me right now like, stop embarrassing me. But
dude, I think you just created a hilarious fucking joke, by the way. Lady in the Tramp, that scene is totally bullshit. No dog. Have you ever seen a dog eat?
Or try and share something with another dog?
They're not friendly. No. They don't share food. Get the fuck out of here with that Lady in the Tramp shit. Fucking Disney. Dude, that's a great joke. I'm gonna be like, Disney's evil. And I was like, why? I'm like, listen, look what they do. Lady in the Tramp. Come on, that's not how dogs really live. They're giving us a false reality of how dogs live. I can't think.
Gizmo would never nudge a meatball to someone else.
No dog would ever nudge a meatball to another dog. Never mind a fucking person. Get out of here. It's a dog eat dog world, is the name. It is. They would maybe eat a dog between them and share that. This is great humor. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, so Brandon, before we jump into what we're doing, we've taken a little bit of a break here. I feel like we've both been so like busy, but let's update our listeners here of what's been going on. What is up in Brandon's world?
Well, I got married to my cat. That's called a callback. It was a callback to a joke that wasn't even that funny. I think the callback was funnier. Well, let's see. It's been a great midsummer's friggin' break that I guess we could say we took. No, it's been great. I've been super busy in the whole wedding DJing department. I've been DJing no less than 2 or 3 weddings each weekend. And then I've had some gigs in the middle during the week too, and then a bunch of meetings and all that fun stuff. So I've been doing that with the business side. And then as far as the tarot and personal side, I've been doing a lot of readings with friends. I've gotten several different decks, still more than last time we talked, probably, or maybe not. But it just seems that way because I have been working with a bunch of different ones. And I've been getting to crystals also. I have a couple of crystals right here with me, actually, which are pretty neat. And let's see what else I've been doing. I've been gardening, harvesting a bunch of tomatoes. If you guys want to check any of this out, just check out my Instagram. I've been putting up pictures of this in tarot. And I was doing some live streams for a while with tarot, and I want to get back to it. I've just been busy doing meetings and stuff, and then you know how it goes. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun. So check out my Instagram, Brandon John 3, JON, BRANDON JON 3. Yeah, so that's been it. I've been trying to catch up with other friends, but it's been hectic too. Like in the physical, it's tough. The people that I talk to like online and friends like that, it's a little easier, but it's been rough because I get weekends. I work weekends, So what about you, Ashley? What's going on in California?
It's just been kind of a little bit of a shit show here at times.
At times?
Yeah, it's kind of like an up and down, and I feel like I'm kind of at a crossroad as to like what is the next step here, what is my next move. I'm so into this idea of kind of not committing to a year lease or something like that. I like the idea of being able to move around, but trying to find places is like provides a lot of anxiety of like, is this place legit? Is this going to be like, is this not going to cost like $8 million? And so it's kind of difficult to traverse that. I got kind of screwed over.
I have a great idea. I'm going to cut you off, which
yes,
I
tell
know.
me.
So it's kind of a commercial. The Bertaria Times app that I keep telling you about. I think you should totally check that out. It's an app, Bertaria Times. Go on your app store. It's $15 for 1 year, which you're like, why would you pay? But it's great because it keeps off people that you don't want on a social media app, right? Keeps off all the crazies. But there's actually an interactive map on there now where people are adding their businesses and stuff, and they're all about barter. And a lot of people on there have meetups and stuff, and they have places for people to crash and stay. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because you could totally go on there, and for $5 a year, you can get a listing on their interactive map, and you could be like swimmer bear or whatever, and you could teach children how to swim, and you could like go to people's houses and give them lessons, because there's people on there that want to interact with people that are like-minded, that are like us, that don't believe television, I'll say, you know what I'm saying? So, and especially with our values, they're really aligned with a lot of the Christian values that we talk about, even though we're not specifically Christians. We talk about the path of Christ here, so they're very aligned with that. So just wanted to bring that up. That might be something, I'm just going to keep bothering you about it till you do
and
it.
And there's a possibility of then like a sublet attached to that or something?
Oh, I'm just saying, well, this is the thing. People meet people on there. There's like a lot of people in the LA area. In fact, that's one of the largest groups. And there's just a lot of like-minded people. And some people will have a thing where it's like, hey, come crash with me for the week, or a day or whatever, if you're on a journey, stuff like that. But you could also, I'm sure, find like-minded people to live with. There's other people that are looking to like start homesteads, and there's a lot of single guys on there that are like crushing, and they're looking for women. That's another thing I'm saying. All right. It reminds me of when I was in a military base, and there was like all these dudes, but these guys, though, not that the dudes in the military were like, but these guys get it. They're like that, but they're, older, or not all, they're all different ages. But anyway, you get it. So enough about that.
Yeah. So, that's kind of where I'm at. And yeah, I mean, so for the past like week and a half, I've just been feeling very anxious about that. Like, do I just keep traveling around? I love that. But there is something nice to having a set place for like a longer amount of time, you know? I don't know.
I think it'll take care of itself for you. I mean, everything else so far has for you. It kind of like how it falls into place, you know? It's weird.
Yes. And right. And so I don't want to like force something, and I don't want to commit to something where I'm like, I don't feel like it's right, but I'm committing to it because I feel like it's falling into, like I was just saying before, like this order of how things should be. Like, well, you should have an apartment and you shouldn't. It's like, well, why? Why do I need that? So that's kind of where I'm at. I actually was offered a full-time job. And so I'm still kind of grappling with whether or not I want to do that, but it seems like it seems like something that could be incredibly beneficial for both parties.
That's cool.
So yeah, and it honestly would allow me to keep traveling around without having to have a set place to stay and live and whatever. So like I said,
Are you getting a sugar daddy?
Please, I wish. I'm
Is this just recording you for some reason? I think you might be just pinned. Let me see. I don't know. Anyway, we could keep talking. Yeah, you finish the show and I'll work on this. I mean, you talk.
Oh, so yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that next week I'm going to be in a different place or whatever. I've got to spend a lot of time down in Orange County in Newport Beach at my aunt's house because she's been taking like a whole bunch of vacations. It's just very relaxing down there because you're so close to the water and it's so quiet, and like Gizmo has a place to go and run around, and it's just really, really, it was just like so nice to be down there, and it definitely helped mellow me out a little bit, especially with the situation with that client that I would mention that kind of screwed me. So that's kind of what's been going on with me. I feel like I've kind of fallen off the map in terms of like communication with a lot of people. I was like super, super committed to this one client and doing all this stuff for them. And then I got like, when that whole thing went down, I was like really sad about it. And then it was like, okay, we'll be sad for like a minute and then pick yourself up and like literally just try and like find ways to make money without having to go into, I just really don't want to go into like a traditional brick and mortar type of structure and have that like 9 to 5. Like I really don't want that. So I'm trying to do everything I can to not have that.
Well, it's your life. So Ashley, I say do what you want to do because you only get to live this one once, allegedly. So
yeah, YOLO.
And the thing is, maybe if you do get to live it a couple times, maybe last time you did do the 9 to 5, and that's how you know deep down in your soul you don't want to do it. You know, I mean, you did a little bit this time. You tried it. You're like, listen, I did everything everyone said. I went to school, I got the job, I got the marriage, you know, I got the dog.
I just like, you know, I think back to like when I was in that type of, and maybe some of our listeners can relate, but you kind of fall into this mundane schedule and it's hard to break it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like work during the week, have the weekends off, prep for Monday, on Sunday, go to, you know, like I just like Friday night, you're like, it's Friday. Like I don't want that.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with if you have that lifestyle and you enjoy it. It's not like we're crapping on you. Everyone's different. That's the whole point of the show too, is, you know, everyone's different. Everyone has their own thing that they do. Like I'm an entertainer, so I work on the weekends, you know, and it limits me from what I could do with other people in my social life. But then again, it puts me out in the middle of things all the time. So it's like, it's a give and a take.
Exactly. And you know, some people like, I feel like some people are like, they like that idea of having that. And I honestly, I love a schedule, but I'm like, I just felt I was being swallowed by just this repetition. Like different week, same shit.
Sounds like you got a black boyfriend. I've been swallowed by repetition. Terrible joke. That was so terrible.
Okay. All right. So let's get into what we're doing today. Let's get into what we're doing today. Today we are doing another spread. We are doing, I'm pulling it up right now.
we're doing from the Influence of Angel deck.
Yes, and we're doing the Heart of the Matter tarot spread. And
Yeah.
I would really love to hear from listeners if they like us kind of going and doing all of these spreads. I listen back to them and I'm like, I feel like I sound so self-absorbed. Someone's like, I think this applies to me like this. But I think that it really adds to personal perspective.
Yeah.
Because I have heard people say that they relate to me in the show, which I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But I feel like it adds to like, oh, well, that's how, like, I could see her perspective there. And then that's how it could apply to me. So today we're doing a 4-card reading, Heart of the Matter tarot spread. And we're using the Angel Tarot.
Yes, it's the Influence of the Angels Tarot is what it's called by US Game System, just in case anyone's looking for it. And I just wanted to say really quickly that, because I will forget this, could it be, I'll just ask you this question, you think it could be the reason that you think you sound so self-absorbed is just because you have a problem with it? Because when I listen back, I think it's great. So I don't know what you're talking about. So maybe the problem that you see with it is just inside you, like you have an issue with yourself. You know, you're like, ugh. Like I get it. That's how when I first started recording and stuff, sometimes I would get like that. I still do a little bit, but it's easier for me to pick on myself than someone else. So
I just feel like, Brandon, you give a perspective that's more like world perspective as opposed to like very macro, and I feel like mine is very micro.
Oh, that's good though. That's a very great balance. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But see, whereas
I
I think that your perspective is like, oh, he's so insightful and seeing things like how they apply to the world, and then mine just feels like very pinpointed to a person.
That's good though. I like that. Honestly, and I understand though that being the person that has to be that must have a different stress to it because you're putting yourself on the line more, and it could be seen as you're the one that's maybe like sounds selfish, I guess, because you're talking about yourself all the time. But that's not how I perceive it. I get it. I think that's just how we look at the world or how we're viewing it. You know what I mean? In the tarot and all that stuff. So yeah, it's great.
I do think we have a really good balance in the both of our perspectives.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. So we're doing 4 card spread. And what I'll do is, here, I'll just pin me. Speaker of the house must be pinned or something. Pinderson, what's going on here? We'll go back to gallery. Oh, here we go. These dots. No, they're not. That's weird. I'll pin me. Anyway, it's like a Zoom commercial over here. Okay, so the Heart of the Matter tarot spread. We're going to pull 4 cards, and this is what it's going to look like. 1 at the bottom, 4 at the top, 3 in the 2, and these are the different. And you're going to read that for us anyway, but I just wanted to show the viewers. So I pulled the first card already. Then the first card actually just kind of fell out of the deck. It just jumped out at me, so we're going to go with that.
The first card is down at the bottom of, if you want to imagine a cross, it's the bottom point of the cross, and it's the Heart of the Matter, the querent's true feelings and concerns.
2 of Swords.
I get it. It's like, could this card be any more reflective of what I was just saying about myself? Blindfolded and having all these and having 2 different choices and like which one is the right choice to make. And the good thing about this card is I'm so sorry, Brandon. I'm like literally already jumping in and interpreting.
Oh, go ahead. Go.
Okay. It's like what I love about this card is you can kind of see her eyes through the blindfold. It's not like her eyes are completely covered. And you can see that she actually has this like divine inspiration or this divine help on both sides. So it's kind of like there isn't one perfect side. It's like it's basically either one.
Or how about this? Good. Both sides are perfect.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know, it's like
did you ever see the movie? Way to say it.
Did you ever see the movie Sliding Doors?
I did not.
Okay, I think I've seen it, but but I'm gonna say what I think it's about. But anyway, it's Gwyneth Paltrow, and she's like running to catch like a subway train, and in one timeline she catches it, and the other timeline she doesn't, and you follow the stories of these 2 separate timelines. And what I believe what happens is at the end of the movie, they fuse, they coincide, where it's like it doesn't matter if she caught it or if she didn't catch it. she'd still end up at the same place. Now, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, because I might have just made up that ending. I don't think I did, but I'm pretty sure that's how it ends. Sorry, spoiler alert. And so that's what I love. It's like there is no perfect choice because both are perfect.
Exactly. Exactly. My card just blew away. Keep talking.
And so, like, looking at, you know, the spread here, it says the querent's true feelings and concerns. Well, we just literally listeners, you literally just heard that as my concern as to what am I going to do, what direction am I going to go into. And I feel like for me to apply that to myself and Brandon's relationship and our podcast, you know, do I take this traditional path of working a 9 to 5, you know, Monday to Friday, which with time differences and everything, it's kind of difficult then for Brandon and I to manipulate the calendar to make things work for us to record? Or do I say like, or do we both say like, let's continue on with our more like non-traditional, you know, work structures to be able to record whenever we're free, and you know, if it's the middle of the day or if it's on the weekend or whatever. So that's how I'm interpreting that card. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Well, I just want to say this card does come up a lot for me.
Does it?
Yeah, this is a card that's come up a lot in my readings for other people too, and even in the beginning, the Rider Waite that I have. So it does. I really love how it represents a choice, and I like to look at it as two different ideas, because swords are a lot of times represented by air, which is ideas, and it's like ideas come from feelings. So when you're meditating, you're sitting down and you're trying to, you know, still your mind, and you have a feeling, and if you investigate that feeling, it turns into a thought, and then that thought can turn into action. So it's like the go between your feelings are these thoughts, and then you act based upon the thoughts that you have. So this is showing that, hey, a lot of times you base your thoughts or your decisions, or maybe you should base them not on what you see, because, you know, like you think of Star Wars when Luke Skywalker was blindfolded by Obi-Wan, and he's like, don't trust your eyes, they'll deceive you. And I really feel that's the heart of the matter here, because sometimes you feel and you see and you think, you know, and you're thinking, and when you're doing that, it's nothing really wrong with that, but you're kind of overshadowing or overpowering the voice of your intuition, which isn't as loud. So I think that's a lot of what that has to do with. It's kind of like she's blindfolded, but again, like you noted very astutely, her eyes are totally veiled, right? So it's more like she's lowering her gaze to not rely on her eyes so much. And again, I always say this, it doesn't always have to represent two different conflicting ideas. It could be two ideas or two different tools that you hold that are helping you in your life too, and two different powers that you wield, or thought processes, or whatever it is, mental exercises. So everybody wants to look at this card as kind of something bad because it's a sword. And you know, like everyone's like, well, we got a tough life choice, it's really hard, and what are you going to do? But I'll look at it this way, at least you have a choice, right? Think about how many people that don't have a choice. They just have to get up and go to their shitty job every day that they hate. Well, or maybe they feel, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone has a choice, but their choice isn't as easy, I'll say, right? So I don't want to make them a victim. So everybody has a choice, right? They can get out of it somehow, but maybe it's just a harder one. Maybe they have a lot more to lose by standing up for what they want to do. So they just kind of go along with it. And, you know, maybe they're in a position where they're supporting somebody or helping somebody out. So this is a positive thing you could look at is, hey, at least I have a choice here, you know? And then if I make it and I do the 9 to 5 and I really hate it, I don't have to do it for the rest of my life. You know, like I could just be like, guess what? This isn't for me. You know, people don't want you working for them if you're not happy, you know, at the end of the day. So,
and that's a beautiful perspective of like, you're not, as to go back to our quote, you're not married to one single decision.
Yeah. And I think in my life, I could say, I'll add a little bit, since we were talking about the beginning of this, there's always choices that we have to make. And the swords can also represent cutting off, because when you make a choice, a lot of times you do cut off that other timeline or whatever the possibilities that could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, those angels up there, that really kind of reminds me that, like you said, it doesn't matter what choice you make. There's a whole different aspect to this that we don't realize. So my thing is, I'm thinking about in the winter, because after New Year's, I don't really have any gigs. I mean, I don't have a bunch like after October, but I got a couple here and there in December, and then I have one big one on New Year's, November, December. Then New Year's, I have a big one. So I'm thinking after that, maybe I'm gonna hit the road for a while. So that's like a decision I got to make, and maybe go out west.
Oh, yes.
I feel like I'm being called out west for several reasons. I have a few really good friends out there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a really magical place. In the winter, I think would be a good time because it's not too hot. You know, it'll be and even if it is cold to me, I mean, it's like, what's cold? You know, I could put up with anything. So I think it'll be a fun time. And then I mean, I have friends that move to Colorado too. I have a friend in Arizona. So
Dude, you would love Sedona.
yeah,
Like, talk about a magical place. Also, I'll go with you.
yeah, I figured you're gonna meet up with me. I'm excited about that. So
uh,
the choice but there's different choices now I have to make. It's like, how am I going to do it? What am I, am I going to use a truck? Am I going to, just a truck? Am I going to get a trailer? And then all these different choices have different responsibilities and obligations and work attached to them. And then it's like, do I want to really do that? Or,
mm-hmm.
what do I want to focus on? So those are some of the choices that I'm thinking about right now, honestly, because I feel like Connecticut in the winter, I love it, but after the holidays, it gets really stagnant. And like January, it's just a downtime. So if I could, and the other thing, it's like I'd be aligning it with the rising of the sun, because even though it's the winter, after the solstice on Christmas Eve or whatever, every day the sun rises. So I'm
Yep.
going to be working with that, just like the moon. When I talk about like right now we're in it was a new moon yesterday. And we're in the waning waxing, sorry, the waxing, the building, the growing phase. So yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
I think that's a great idea. All right, what is our
I knew
next
you'd love
card?
it. I wanted to tell you on the show anyway. So we're going to be going to the left now. Is that it for two?
The next card is the second card in our spread is going to be, yes, the left hand point of the cross.
Okay.
So if you think of a compass rose, it would be the west.
Awesome. We have the 7 of Pentacles. So I love this already because we have a 2 and a 7, which we all know my birthday is July 2nd. So we have a 2 and a 7, heavily represented. This card I absolutely love. It's a lady standing in her garden, which is in full bloom. There's like a fruit tree. There's an angel above her. It looks like he has a halo in his hand, maybe, or something, or no, a mirror. It could even be like a lens or a halo she's ready to put on that lady, right? And the lady has in her right hand a pentacle, and in her left hand, I can't even really tell what she has, honestly. It looks like it could be a book, or she's holding the wall or something. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, you see the shovel and all the gardening stuff, the water vessel, and this is pentacles. So it just goes to show that, like, if you want to create, you can't just stay in pentacles. You have to use the water, and
yes,
and you're going to use it to be a good little farmer. And what was this again? What does this represent? What aspect?
This is the worldly message, how the outside world influences the queer, practical advice. And like, talk about practical advice. It's one of those, like, you reap what you sow, right? If you put out the energy and the effort and the focus and the work, you will get the rewards, right? And so I feel like that's something that people always tell you, right? Work hard so that you can reap the rewards later. And I think now, especially looking at going back to now teaching swim lessons with the Olympics happening, people are like, they see these athletes performing at these high levels, and they don't realize the amount of work and dedication and effort and energy and money and focus that goes into performing at that level. It's like, it's their job to make it look easy. but you know, they didn't get there overnight. They weren't like, I'm gonna go to the Olympics tomorrow and like do gymnastics. I think like that's not how it works. And
Yeah.
so when I think of practical advice, I think that's the things that, especially like my family, like ingrained in me from a young age of like, you need to work hard. You need to work hard if you want to get anything in life. And I'm not saying that's not true, but I am saying that sometimes it might not be. You know, sometimes if you're working too hard at something, that is an indicator that like you shouldn't be doing it, I think. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
No, I think that's sometimes, sometimes there's a time and a place where you have to roll up your sleeves and dig in and do the hard work, but it's like that whole saying, like, this isn't my hill to die on. You got to find a hill, I like to say hill to grow on instead of die on, right? But you got to find that place that whatever it is, if you want to build and grow for it, then you're doing it. But other than that, if you're just conflicting just to conflict and all that stuff, it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times you got to go with the flow, especially when the whole world is going crazy on you. Not
Yep.
saying to do everything they do. You can still stay in your truth, but sometimes you just got to duck a little, put your head down, not stick out. I don't know. But anyway, so this card, the one thing I love about one of the things I love about this is in the Two of Swords, you see all the water in the background. And
Yep.
so it's like all the possibilities were endless. So now it's another female, and she took that water away from the sea of possibilities. She made her choice, right? She's
Mm-hmm.
in nature, and it says here also that this is the influence of the world, right? This is the outside, how the outside world influences the querent. So
Yep.
let's say this is what your choice, right? Hang on, the wind is coming in and saying, don't forget about me. What about the wind? So she took the water, right? So you had that choice, and you're out there and you're cultivating, and now you have to
Yep.
choose which one of these, because these are all the other possibilities. So before, you had two kind of roads you can go down, and I think you already kind of chose the road you want to do, which is more the independent living, right? And now you have all this fruit that blossomed from what you've done, and you don't, maybe right now you don't see that you've done all these things and tried it, because maybe some of it seemed like it failed, but these are the fruits, right? And again, it doesn't look all that orderly, or it kind of looks like the Charlie Brown tree a little bit, right? Like a little
Mm-hmm.
scraggly, but again, it's 7, it's perfect. And speaking of influences, you have this angel right there, this angelic voice,
Yep.
right? So this is the one that's kind of whispering you, but you don't see it. So that's your intuition that's speaking to you. And if you turn around, it would be behind you. You wouldn't see it, but it's whispering in your ear, and it's saying the choice is yours. Look at the one you have in your hand. This represents what you already mastered. So this can represent swimming, or, how you've gotten the world so far. And now
Yep.
it's like, what else has bloomed? What can you choose?
And you know what I love about that? Like now going and looking at it a little bit further is that there's so many different fruits, right? So there could be so many different pathways for her to choose. And they all look pretty good. None of them look rotten.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. We got to think about choices, right? Because right now it's great because it's the summer, it's the high season, everything's, my tomatoes are ripening and stuff. But it's a good message too. You can't let it sit on the vine too long, because then it
Mm-hmm.
will rot or go to seed. A lot of times, like with squash, if you leave them on too long, the whole plant goes to seed and it stops producing fruit.
Yep.
So, just remember that life, like Jeff Goldblum says in Jurassic Park, that movie about fake creatures that never existed. Could it be? Just kidding, everyone. He's like, life finds a way.
Yep.
But it's so true, though. That's what happens, man. So it's like you gotta go with it, because if you stay long and you stay stagnant, what's stagnant? Things that are dead. But even dead
Yes.
things have life in them. Things feed on them. So it's just like another cycle. So anyway, yeah. So if you have that choice, that's what the world's telling you. It's like the time is now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next? Or what do you think? Should we
No,
add more?
I totally agree with you. And what I will say is, even if you pick something, like if I'm looking at the card, even if you pick something or you go down a pathway that is, let's call it rotten or maybe not like fruitful or whatever, you still have so many other options.
Yeah. I opened the book, right? I was gonna read something about the 7 of Pentacles, but I opened it
Yeah.
to the 2 of Swords. So we'll read something about that really quick. I'll go back and the main
Mm-hmm.
figure, we'll just read like one little thing, you know, like, because I don't want to give the whole book away for people. But so this book it's really good. It's a small book, right? But it has all these different, like it has a description of the card, then it has different symbols and what they could mean. And one of the symbols is the main figure, which is the woman is centered on the card, indicating balance. Her erect posture, that reminds
Mm-hmm.
me to sit up straight. That's so funny. Favors neither left nor right, which symbolizes a neutral position. She also represents the ability to keep quiet. Ooh, yeah, you hear that, women? Oh. I'm taking this book with me everywhere I go, and I'm like, oh, you got, hey, lady, that's being loud in the story. Look, I pulled the Two of Swords for you. It says she also represents the ability to keep quiet. Oh man, this is anyway. This woman will not come out. Oh, my cat just ran away. She's like, oh, you don't want me to meow? Okay, which symbolizes neutral position. She also represents the ability to keep quiet. This woman will not come to any rash conclusions and impulsively blurt out a remark. There you go. So it's like you said, it's about that decision, but it's not about making a rash decision. It's making one, and it's, you already know it, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll read this about the blindfold also, because we mentioned that. So let's see how close we were. Symbolically, a blindfold also stands for impartiality. Here, the blindfold is semi-transparent, as Ashley pointed out. Said that in the book. Here, the blindfold showing the difficulty one may have being impartial or neutral. Ooh, I like that. It's hard to be neutral, so it's hard to totally blindfold yourself.
Yes.
You want to peek due to the personal preference or some other unfair influence. Behind the blindfold, the woman's eyes are wide open, indicating that she is open to evidence pertaining to one side or the other. It also conveys that she is not trying to fool herself. Ooh, I like that. All right. Yeah, because it's like, hey, universe, you put a blindfold on me, but it's transparent, so I'm going to look through it
Yeah.
using everything available to me. Go ahead.
100%. And I just want all of our listeners to know, like, I did not read this book beforehand, just to validate myself here. Like, I've not seen anything from this book. So
Yeah, I think I pulled a card
kind
for
of
it
spot
last
on.
night. Yeah.
Okay, so are we ready to move on to our next card here?
We are ready.
Okay, card number 3 is going to be that east hand, that right hand point on the cross. And it is the angelic message, the spiritual aspect of this card as it relates to the issue at hand, emotional concerns or spiritual advice.
Wow. So we have the Nine of Wands, which is a card that comes up a lot for me with this deck in this reading. When I've been giving readings, I mean. And I will just say I love it because 2 + 7 is 9. And so
I was just going to say that, yes.
And again, I just shuffled these, and the only card that jumped out was that Two of Swords. So then the other ones I just stopped shuffling when I felt it was right. And I also like how it's very synchronistic because he has a cloudy background, and if you could tell, it's pretty cloudy here.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's gonna rain. I shouldn't be out here with a laptop, but I'm under an umbrella and a tree, and I check the radar. Anyway, so you have 8 wands behind him that look like formed some kind of barricade to behind him. So he's ready to face the future and what's ready to come. And if you look at that chasm behind him, that canyon, it looks like the Grand Canyon. It's funny because I was talking about going out west, right? And maybe he's heading out west.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got these wands behind him as protection. So if you look at that canyon behind him, I think that's the roads that he's got through. He climbed up out of that canyon. He's been through all that, and he set up that barrier. He's not going back there. It's the abyss. He's become a master from it, but he doesn't need to go back there. Now we can go forward and help other people and look forward to the future. And using that 9th wand, that number of 9 is like 0, 0 is like 9. I mean, it's kind of the number of completion. And it's got a red tip representing the fire, the alchemy. So he's out there ready to move in the world and help himself help other people by helping himself. And you have this thing up here. It looks like a heart, like with wings or whatever.
Is that what that is?
No, it's a little baby angel face. I'm just going to say though, but I'll try to zoom in, but it looks like a heart with wings. So I'm trying to think that yes, it is a baby, and the wings come up behind it to make it look like points, like ears. But I also think it looks like a heart on purpose too, you know. Here, so
Oh, it is a baby. I thought that was a stomach.
it's a
I
baby.
thought that was like a big bulging stomach.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
like a belly button.
it's so cute.
Yeah, maybe I can introduce my grubby fingernails. I'm a gardener, everybody, all right? Anyway,
So
so
cute.
yeah, so it's that now, right? This person is going toward the voice of the intuition. Okay, so before it was whispering, she had all these possibilities. What do I do now? You know, now he's going toward it, right? Away from the fertile lands because it's all cycle, you know. So now he's out in the world, and that's what you were saying about what was it that really resonated with me? Can you repeat that again? Oh no, yeah, go ahead because I can't find it.
Which part?
Actually, I got the angelic message. Okay, so the spiritual aspect of this card as it relates to the issue at hand, emotional concerns or spiritual advice. Again, so the emotional concerns are the past, right? What chasms have you gone? But you don't have to worry because everything that you've taken with you, the knowledge that you've had, and think about what wands represent: alchemy, the fire, healing yourself, the aspects of it. The 8, it's the number of infinity, right? That's what's behind you. It's forever there, barring you from falling backwards. So now you can move forward and you don't have to worry about what's, you know, use that knowledge of the past, but you don't have to look back at it.
You I love your interpretation of the card because I'm not gonna lie, my initial visceral reaction when seeing that was like, ugh. I
Good.
don't like that person. Like it's like this old person that looks like
Yep.
tired and haggard. And it looks
How
like just
dare you?
not not it looks like kind of dim and dark and it made me feel like struggle.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it. That's going to be, well, the guy came through the struggle.
Maybe that's
All
why
they
he's
know is
so
struggle.
old. He's like so old and haggard because he did do that. But
And
then I love that you said that that's a baby in the top right because it almost gives this like, even to me, the interpretation is like, even though people have gone through shit, you've gone through like struggles, sometimes you need to look at something with this like childlike, innocent perspective to say like, and be grateful for what you have and not let your past define who you are today and who you're going to be. Because I feel like so many people carry the weight of everything that's happened to them with them for their whole life. And it just like, it breeds negativity or it breeds hardship and strife. And it's like, a kid falls down, like a toddler falls down, they get back up and they just keep trying to walk or run or do whatever they're trying to do. They're not like, well, I ran yesterday and fell, so I'm never going to do that again.
yeah,
I don't know.
really smart. So true.
Honestly, the
Um,
thing that flipped that situation for me and looking at the card and changing the perspective was the baby because it was very cute. And and then it's like also if it's a 9, right, so that's like the apex almost of the cards, right? The 10 is like the complete cycle where it's like you're going to be starting then down at the bottom, but I always say like the 9 is like this high point of like yes. And so like he's gone through all of this and then that baby is waiting there to say like it's going to start all over, and now you can choose a different perspective or a different path or a different way of looking at things.
yeah, I like the perspective because I think that's the key to it all. Could it be? And I'm gonna do something I probably shouldn't. So while I do it, I'm gonna light up this blunt so people just like, ah, look at this fucking stoner. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, if you look at the world as a child, it becomes a different place. And this is the thing because I feel like a lot of people are just immature. So they look at it from the point of view of a child, but as like a selfish only child, you know, that like always got his own, or hers or her own way. And I guess God has a different plan for me with this blunt because it's windy. So, so, you know, it's like if you could realize that you're not the center of the universe,
Mm-hmm.
but things happen you can't, there's nothing you could do about the things that happen, right? You're kind of you're in a big dryer, like you're doing laundry and you're in a dryer, you're just tumbling around. All you could do is, as things come at you, you could decide how you're going to, you could
Yeah.
decide, how you're gonna deal with what happens, and how you're gonna act, and how you're gonna go forward, and how you view yourself. And now, are you gonna view yourself as a victim, or are you going to view yourself as not a victim, and I'm the center of this movie, I'm the star of this movie? And that's a way you could look at yourself, and it's not really selfish, it's like self-love. So, because would a star of a movie hoard all the resources for themselves and be a dick and shit? No, the star of the movie is going to be try to be a hero. It's like the hero archetype. So that's, I feel, a way that people could make themselves feel more sustained, or what's the word I'm looking for, more get more satisfaction out of life. Because the false of that, the inversion, is that acting childish and immature and being selfish, right? And again, these are judgments. But so if you have this need to be the center of the movie, but you're coming at it where it's not a movie, you're just like the center of attention, and you think the whole world is like a creation where you're the star of it, or you're the center of it, and it's all about you. That's the negative interpretation of it. And that way, could it be people alter their behavior to then do everything that's going to get things to go their way, and they're going to try to make every moment the best, and they're going to try to always enjoy everything, and it's always got to be fun and happy and rainbow and sunshines. Whereas, and then if something goes wrong, they're like, oh no, it's all ruined. Whereas if you have the other point of view, the perspective, when something happens, you can look at it like a child and just laugh at it and be like, oh wow, that's hilarious, how can we move forward from this, and look at it. And it's, it's not the end of the world, because in a child's mind, tomorrow it's going to be a new day every day. They know that they're going to wake up tomorrow and get to play with new toys, and
Right, exactly. I don't understand what you think that would be so like disconcerting about that thought.
Yeah, well, it's hard to share direct advice, but it's more about the part where I was saying how, like, the victim narrative, because that people get touchy with that sometimes. I guess I was able to communicate it in an eloquent way, so I'm very excited about that. I thought at first it was going to come out a little rough and abrasive, but because I wasn't able to light my blunt, I had to use my words.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. All right. So let's go to our last card here. Card number 4, which would be at the top of the cross, right? The northernmost point. Card number 4 is aspiration, the goal, spiritual or practical, the querent should keep in mind and move towards. Queen of Cups.
We have the Queen of Cups.
I like that card. It makes me think of me.
Dainty lady, right? Sitting in nature. All right, here we go. Sitting in nature, right?
Yep.
But comforts of modern world, so it's a good balance, right? She has this nice wedding dress on. We're just talking about marriage. This nice white dress. It could be a wedding dress. Right hand, she has a white flower, which is like connected to her left brain. So it's that logical way of looking at the world is flowering. She's in perfect harmony with natural law. Her logical brain gets how you have to treat people how you want to be treated. You don't treat people how you don't want to be treated. And then in her left hand, which represents, just want to make sure I have this right. The left hand represents the right brain, the more creative side. She has tea. So it's like a sustenance. It's that water again, but it's the water on fire, right? So if you think of water and earth, it's mud, but water and fire, what is it? It's tea, right? So she's using her emotions, but she's using them together with alchemy to rise to a higher vibration. So she's looking at the world, even though she could be in the muck and the mire with her feet, because you don't see it. Maybe she is stuck in the mud. She's using this tea, her emotions, in this cup to heat it up. And it kind of goes like this, right? She had the water, we got the girl again, and now it's even less water, but it's a water that she controlled the temperature. She flavored it now. It's no longer a sea of possibility behind her, or it's not just a form of life sustenance for a way of going forth in the world. This is something now for her soul, for her You know, and if it's cups too, it could even be for her love life and all that stuff, and even loving herself.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little put off by that picture. It doesn't scream Queen of Cups to me. It feels more earthy. It doesn't seem she seems so when I think of cups, I think of emotion, and she almost looks Victorian-esque in terms of that stoic face, kind of almost lacking emotion, kind of keeping everything behind, you know,
A veil.
or behind the face, like of not letting any kind of emotion come through, not kind of letting any kind of anything come through. And the idea of her being clothed totally in white again is like that.
It's actually
And
kind
you're
of
right.
gray. My bad.
Like it. Oh well, the idea of even her feet being in like the dirt or whatever, but she's wearing this gown that looks so pristine is like she doesn't want to muddy up her reflection or her perspective or the way she's presenting herself out to the world by showcasing her emotions or saying what she really thinks or what she really feels. And then I saw in her gown, like there's two little cherubs, right?
Yep.
Which I feel like is the antithesis of what she looks like. Because when I think of a child, like a little like roly-poly kid, like they're dirty and they're gross and they don't care and they want to have fun and they're playful and she looks like none of those things.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's kind of a mind fuck. What am I supposed to do with that?
Okay. What if it's because, and I understand where you're coming from, because in a lot of the way that we perceive emotions, when we think of emotions, we think of people being emotional. What if she just conquered her emotions? You know, there's actually a little river back here too that's very still and people are playing in it. So not that she conquered it, but she just has a control over her emotions where she's not going to let outside influences affect her. She's going to let it come in, and then she expresses herself with the rose and the tea, you know, and she's expressing herself with the white flower. Doesn't look like it's a rose, it's like a white group of flowers, but that's like nature. And if you think of the way that nature is perfect, there is no lie in nature. So she's presenting herself or expressing herself. She doesn't have to do it with her words. She's doing it with her actions that align with nature. And she's sustaining herself with that warm cup of tea.
When actions do speak louder than words, I wish there was just almost like a slight upturn, Mona Lisa smile-esque in her face to give some kind of like.
She's got her poker face, man.
So, but gives it as an indicator of like she's in on it. You know what I mean? Like she knows.
Oh, she knows.
But you're saying that, but there's no indicator there telling you she does know.
She's the queen.
And I, you said it's the Queen of Cups. I was like, oh fuck, I always identify as myself as like the Queen of Cups. And I look at that card and I'm like, I'm not that person at all. Although, you know what?
You said honestly, that right away though. You're like, that's me.
I did. And you know what? Actually, now I'm going backwards in time here because somebody did say that to me the other day. They're like, it doesn't seem like anything affects you. Like you don't ever get angry. You don't, and I'm like, in a professional setting or when I'm interacting with most people, yes, I will not showcase that. Fuck, Brandon. Now I'm like literally going back on what I just said because I'm like, I won't let that stuff, like, I will not let someone see that because that lets them know that they've like riled me up. I will keep it like total stone face until I'm with those that I trust where I can be vulnerable and say what I actually think or what I actually feel. Case in point, when I'm calling you all the time and I'm like, Brandon, but like, you don't see that. Like the people I interact with daily professionally don't see that. It's like, oh, she just always looks like she just has like a stone face or a resting bitch face. And like, I don't think that's me at all, but it's like just the way that I put myself out in the world, I guess. What does it mean, Brandon?
Well,
you're like, what are you talking about?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I would say that with her or with people that you work with that say that nothing bothers you, I feel that maybe that's that is the impression that you put off, so it will lead people to feel that that's true. So they
Mm-hmm.
might feel that they could be more direct with you because of that. So it could be a blessing in disguise. You just have to realize that. And then the next part is that step one is to not show people, but then step two, I feel, or whatever it is, the next step that one could attain to is to not even let it bother you at all, even inside. And it's not to like repress it or push it down, right? It's because say somebody said something direct to you and you didn't have a stone face and you're like, they're not going to do it again because they're going to see your reaction. Or if they do it again, it's going to cause a reaction and then that's going to screw with them, right? So since you don't do it, they're just going to keep interacting with you like that. So it's kind of on you at that point. So if you notice that, then you're not a victim anymore. You're like, oh shit, this is actually better for me because I am more of a logical person and I'm not a victim. It's not that people are shitting on me because I'm less of a person or it's because I'm a bitch or anything like that. It's just because I'm stone faced and they know they could be more direct with me. And that's how I perceive myself in the world. And that's her logical brain. That's her holding that white rose with the logical brain going, all right, I get it now. This is how people are going to treat me or whatever, because that's how I put myself in the world. And then what they say, you also have to remember, they don't know you. You're just a character in their head. It's like a play that's going on. They're interacting, they're having a conversation with themselves in an outward manner. And you're just happen to be in the area and they think they're talking to you and you think they're talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could realize that, then you let it in, you could just laugh at it. You boil that tea, baby. You know, the tea is that emotion. If it gets cold, it's chilly, but you warm it up and you're bubbling and you're laughing, right? Because you're like, oh, I get it. And then you're not repressing it. You're still letting it escape and it's turning into something. It's a power, it's an energy, it's a frequency, it's an emotion, it's a vibration, whatever it is. You're going to feel it. You're going to take it in anyway. And it's your choice what you want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to remind yourself that you're a being of infinite energy and you're here to experience whatever it is you are, or do you want to be like, oh, I can't believe she just said that about me? You know, like the choice is yours. That's all I'm here to say. You could do either.
Yep. All right, no, but let's talk now how it applies to. I want to try and get these things to apply to us.
Yeah.
But I think that what you just said is a direct reflection of that, because I think you do a good job of kind of personifying that card, and I'm working towards personifying that card. I will also say this about the 4 cards picked. None of them were major arcana cards.
Yeah.
Which I think is positive.
Yeah. Nothing crazy. Little slight adjustments, you know. And then the court card to remind you who you are, to remind you of the archetype or the Queen of Cups. Because again, you have the stone face, the poker face ready, but if it's still bothering you inside, then the water behind you is going to be rough, you know?
Yes.
That's why the angels are under now, instead of being up in the world or up in the sky in front or behind her. She has both of them again, just like in the first one.
And you know what? And maybe that is a reflection of the way that you were talking about earlier about like kids, of like kids don't take things personally.
Yeah.
You can yell at a kid and like 5 minutes later, they're like, can I sit on your lap? Can I have a hug? Like they're not going to like hold a grudge. They're not like that. Wouldn't it be better if we all aged in reverse?
Well, you know, I don't think it's just adults take things personally. I just think that as kids, we're trained to take things personally because everyone has to apologize and we're about, you know, sticks and stones.
No, I mean like real little kids, like 3-year-olds.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like once you get to the point of kind of being a little bit more like cognizant, I feel like you're right. Then it's like, you should apologize for this. And it's like, why are we apologizing for everything? But I'm talking about like the purity of like a toddler.
Yeah.
Like a cherub, you know, like that's what I think of. And it's like, if we could all get back to that stage where it's like, you are brave and
if
courageous.
we could all just lay around all day and shit our pants and cry.
Exactly.
Cry back in our mom's womb. No, I know what you're saying. No, you're right. There's that childlike innocence. That's what we're talking about. That's what the cherub does represent, I believe. And because they're in her dress like that, now she has mastery of them. You know, they're her servants now. She's not a servant to her. It's like when you meditate a lot and now you're not a servant to your own brain. Your brain's a servant to you or your thoughts, you know?
Exactly. All right. So total overall message here. What would you say?
How about you go first?
Brandon? I'm saying that I think what I love so much about the cards that you pulled was kind of the progression through the numbers, right? 2, 7, 9, and then we have the court card. It felt very, despite kind of the location of the cards in the reading, it felt very full circle to me, you know, and very cyclical, like keep on keeping on. You know what I mean? Sort of message.
It's like we said in the building of the new moon, the cycle, the waxing. It was very waxing-esque, you know, the 2, 7, 9.
Yep.
And then the queen, the court card.
And I love that. And so it reminds me that I feel like when I have these feelings of being overwhelmed or anxiety, I should always go back to, I used to be very good about like pulling cards every day or whatever. And then I got so wrapped up into this commitment that I had that it just kind of fell by the wayside. And I'd like to get back to that because I feel like it does be like, yeah, okay, like kind of calm down. You're good. So okay, next week we'll do a different spread. I'd like to see one of your new decks, Brandon, and let's go from there and see what that looks like. And then for all of our listeners, let us know, what do you think about the reading episodes? You like them? You don't like them? Any particular decks you want us to use? I just found this really awesome deck that I feel like I might buy, but we'll see. And I feel like it'd be so awesome to do a reading with it.
What deck is it?
It's called the Pulp Tarot.
Ooh, I think I've heard of that.
It's all like kind of like 1950s, 1960s movie poster-esque type things. It's like so up my alley. It's unbelievable. I
didn't think you were gonna say alley. I was like, where's she going with this?
But if you have anything that, any particular readings that you like that you want us to do, or if you want us to do a reading for you, let us know. Contact us. Look at our Instagram or our Facebook, or contact Brandon and I directly on Instagram or Facebook. Brandon, any final thoughts here?
Yeah, we could take a reading and shove it right up your alley. No, I think that yeah, this was a very synchronistic reading, very beautiful. I love the numbers with it. And if I was going to say anything, it would be to, if you're interested in the tarot, just get a deck, check it out. It's like it could be like a daily practice, like Ashley was saying. It's kind of like a prayer that you do. You can make it a whole ritual. There you go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, check it out. Check out our stuff at tarotbull.com. And until next time, stay terrible.